Welcome, welcome. Sorry, I want to take this off. Please take a couple more seconds to fill out your comment card if you plan to speak. And Dr. Elshire here with the clipboard will take your public comment cards. Who's translating? Si necesita una carta para hablar, le pueden pedir a Dr. Elshire. Aquí tiene la mano dispuesta. Muchas gracias. Tell them to move on so we can sit there. To sit there. We'll sit there. You ready? You ready? Any last public comment cards? Well, thank you. The time is 5:30. Welcome. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Oh, did I say 5:30? 5:20, sorry. Okay. The time is 5:20, and I am calling this public meeting to order. May I please get a roll call? Gotta turn it on.
Roll call for Ms. Jessica Bueno,
Here.
for Ms. Carmen Trujillo. Here. For Dr. Alicia Vink. For Ms. Erica De La Rosa. For Ms. Erica Ovalle.
Thank you. And with that, we have a quorum present to begin our public hearing meetings. Today's public hearing meeting is to discuss possible school closures and potential boundary changes. Notice is hereby given pursuant to ARS 15-341, 32, and 37 that a public meeting will be held on February 13th, 2025 at 5:15 p.m. in the cafeteria located at May Bartlett Hurd Elementary School. The purpose of this meeting is to obtain public comment regarding the potential closure of Paul Lawrence Dunbar School and May Bartlett Hurd Elementary School, and to obtain public comment regarding potential boundary changes. The governing board is considering these actions for the following reasons. Number one, declining enrollment. Number two, financial constraints. And number three, changing demographics within the district. At this public meeting, attending members of the governing board of the Phoenix Elementary School District will hear reasons for or against closing of the schools and the proposed boundary changes. To make a public comment, community members may request to speak on the agenda item during a meeting by completing a request to speak card and giving it to the board secretary at the meeting. The board president will call names of those who are able to speak. If you are unable to attend this meeting, you may send your communication to communityrelations@phxschools.org by February 13th at 4:30 p.m. Please note your communication will be read out loud during the February 13, 2025 public hearing. It will be limited to 3 minutes. And with that, we are going to share a quick presentation, and then we will start with public comment. So we will sit out in the audience, board members.
I also need to be looking at this. You're doing it too much. I can't look at the slides for me. Good evening to our community and to our governing board members, our faculty, staff, and families. I'm Dr. Deborah Gonzalez. I'm the superintendent of Phoenix Elementary. This evening, we are presenting a plan that we want to make sure everyone in the community is aware of and has full understanding. At each of the public hearings that we are doing, we are going to present the same information, but we add to it based on the feedback that we get at the public hearings so that we're making sure everyone has answers and responses to the questions asked. And I'm going to try not to touch the dais because I make it wobble. We are keeping a frequently asked question document. That document is posted online. In addition to that, we have family, community, and staff and student table talk sessions that we've been doing. At those table talk sessions, we gather input from the community, from the families, from the students, from the faculty to get their feedback. And we are also adding those to the frequently asked questions. This presentation and future presentations are simulcast in Spanish for people who are listening online. We also have English and Spanish versions of the documents on our website. So next slide, please. The purpose of this is that we need to create a healthy district balance or a carry forward. The reason for that is that funding for schools is not always an assured part of the process in Arizona school finance. 10% of our maintenance and operation budget should be reserved to be a carry forward balance, something that ensures that we have sustainable funding that will support families and support students that we serve in coming years. For a district our size, that's about $5 million annually that we should be able to carry forward into the next fiscal year. We are at a point now where we have to balance our current budget and reserve an additional amount of money to take us forward so that the district can be sustained. Part of the proposal is that in addition to being able to be fiscally responsible with the funds that we have, that we are also finding opportunities to generate revenue so that we can continue to provide the services that our district families have come to expect and that we know make a difference for our students' success. Next slide, please. As we look at some of the significant data, it's important for us to recognize why we are here. Part of the data that we look at comes from a demographic study. The demographer, looks at the information of birth rates, numbers of students who reside in the area and in the district. So they look at all of the information based on tax records, based on birth records, and they look at where do families live and how are families sending their children to public education. We know in Arizona, we have competition for public education through charters, through private schools, and through vouchers. We are one of 4 options for families in this state. So when the demographer looks at this, they recognize that we are expected to have declining enrollment over time. In the next 8 years, we're expected to lose approximately 652 more students district-wide. Over the next years, that will make us have only 4,000 students. The schools that we're talking about for closure and for recapture of students are Dunbar with a 43% decline expected, Heard with 36% decline, and Capital with 41% decline. Next slide, please. So as we look at this trend, you can see that in 2015, we were staffed for 7,122 students. As we come to where we are currently with 5,070 students, that is our actual number of students that we serve based on our synergy or our enrollment numbers. It's not necessarily the actual number of students for whom we are funded, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But the number of students and families that we're able to support in an urban, high poverty, second language learning area, we require things like smaller classrooms, interventions in the form of English language interventionists, reading interventionists, our exceptional student services programs. We also pay for preschool and half of the kindergarten program. The state does not fund for preschool, nor does it fund for a full day kindergarten program. They only fund half-time. We also know that our children deserve high quality teachers and beautiful classrooms with appropriate materials and appropriate classroom settings. All of that and a competitive salary has caused the number of students that we're serving and the programs that we're providing. We have stretched ourselves too thin over the years. So now we're going to take a look at the budget. Next slide, please. So in this budget, you can see there are a lot of different things. This is a very detailed budget. But what we want you to take a look at is this is our maintenance and operations budget. Maintenance and operation are the funds that we receive from the numbers of students who are enrolled. But remember, it doesn't include preschool and it doesn't include half of the kindergarten students. So when you look at this, you can see across the top where it says only includes half-day kindergarten and special education preschool. We do receive funding for preschool if the child has a diagnosis that requires exceptional student services. But that would have our numbers for this year, our current year, at 4,266 students approximately. Do you see that in the third column, fiscal year 26? And we showed you that when we look at the numbers of students that we're actually serving, the students who come to our school and that we count with our attendance, we have over 5,000 students. So that discrepancy is something that challenges the funding that we have available. So as you look at this budget, you will also notice there are two areas here that show what our actual costs are. And so as you look, particularly if you fiscal year 24, fiscal year 25, you see that in the carry forward in fiscal year 24, we had $8 million of carry forward. In the second column, fiscal year 25, we lose quite a bit of carry forward down to the point where we only have $2 million in carry forward. In part, if you go all the way down to the bottom, when we had kindergarten in fiscal year 24, it was funded through title programming. Our preschool was funded through ESSER, and our before and after school was supported with ESSER funding. So when that goes away and we absorb that into our M&O fund, you notice that the carry forward goes down even further. This year, we will lose our funding for the ESSER preschool and the ESSER before and after school monies, and that results in that large balance that is a negative balance carry forward. We know that we're not alone in this. Unfortunately, we've seen many of our sister districts experience the same thing. Our neighbor to the south recently closed several schools. We also know that other districts are laying off hundreds of people immediately because of a similar sort of circumstance. So of course, the first question that people want to know is, are we in the same sort of trouble? Next slide, please. So this is a lot of words, and I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. Our average daily membership, I talked a little bit about that already. That is the number of students that are attending on a regular basis. That's our enrollment. That's how we get our M&O funds for our district. Changes in funding sources and budget impact. Remember, we have different pots of money that are allowed to be used for different things. Our voters are very supportive of our schools. And by looking at the number of people who are present tonight, it's evident that our voters care very much about our schools and our schools' success. They vote for overrides and bonds, which help to support our school programs. And they help to support beautiful campuses. I always tell people, if you think of bond, think of building. The money that is generated from the bonds can only go into building. It can't go to pay for teachers. It can't go to pay for the programs that we provide our students. It can't pay for before and after school. Those are things that have to come out of our M&O or that we have to get from philanthropic opportunities. So staffing costs and reductions. You'll remember actually, can we flip back to the budget really quickly? I want to say one of the things that you're going to see as a high expense is the purchased services. There's one that's purchased services for regular education in the column here. Another that is purchased services for special education. Special education is the federal term for what we call exceptional student services. Purchased services means that we had to outsource those positions to people that come from an agency, and they charge much more than a teacher does if we can hire them into our programs directly. So when we look at this in 22-23, remember that there was a huge teacher shortage. A lot of people were not coming back to the classroom to teach for a variety of different reasons. We had to go out and start using contract services to meet the needs of our students and to ensure that our students had enough teachers to provide education for them. The other thing that you're going to see as we look at that is that accounts for a huge amount of money. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to decrease that substantially over time. That's a commitment that the cabinet has made as we've looked at this, is to say we're in a good place in terms of our competitive salaries, that we can start to hire more people who are not from an agency, but that are becoming our employees ourselves. And that will save us a substantial amount of money. We also know that the cost of everything has gone up. But we've also made a commitment to making sure that our salaries have remained steady and that we are giving our employees a competitive salary. We've also committed, though, that in looking at this, we may have to have our salaries stay steady for the next couple years while we work to balance our budgets. Our insurance premium also increases continuously. So as we're looking at this, there's a potential that we would have to increase the amount that our employees pay for their health care. Currently, we have a nominal fee that is charged. We may not be able to do that any longer. Transportation costs also are quite expensive. We have, as a district, often provided door-to-door service, and that's a very inefficient and expensive way to operate. We have commissioned a transportation study, and that transportation study is helping us find more efficient and effective routes to get students to schools. And it may actually provide more options for us to be able to get students to school and from school safely. Next slide, please. Did I do my slides out of order? This is why I have to look at the slides. So in terms of restricted funding, remember I mentioned that there are different pots of money that are allowed to be used for different purposes. When you look at our budget, one of the things that you will see is the K-3 reading. Those funds are used to support our Move On When Reading initiative. The state gives an extra allowance of money for students who are at risk of reading failure. And what that does is provides our summer school programming as well as some of the interventionists who are working specifically with our K-3 students. That money can't be moved out of that fund or away from that purpose. It has to stay there. So as we're looking at all those different lines, there are some lines we just cannot move. The other is making sure that we are talking about desegregation. Desegregation it was an act that came because our schools were unfortunately failing too many students. And the US government at the time identified Phoenix as a place where more students were being failed than being able to be successful. And so they gave the state an order to demand that the district come up with a solution to increase diversity and academic achievement in the two lowest performing neighborhoods. So Shaw Elementary's plan was to become a Montessori program. And the other program was to build Magnet Traditional right next door to Hurd. I don't think many of us were here. Well, some of us were here when that was built, but that program is it's called a deseg school. It's a desegregation school. By doing that, we got out from under the order of desegregation. However, the state is obligated to continue to ensure that that program remains intact. And so the district gets $11 million in desegregation funds to support the running of those two schools. And then we have an additional almost $3 million from that to be able to provide additional programming such as the before and after school programs. As we're continuing to spread, it gets harder and harder to provide those after school programs with the amount of money that we have. In terms of what does it cost to run the school, it costs about $4 million annually to run a school. So you can see with the DSEG funding, that helps to support the running of two schools. That doesn't mean that they have a bigger budget. What they don't get, Shaw does not get Title I programming. All of our other schools get Title I programming, and Magnet gets Title I programming based on the numbers of students that are served there. Closing our budget gaps is going to require that we make hard choices. We're looking at some staff cuts at the district office and at plant services. We're looking at the potential revenue from leasing opportunities. Many of you recognize that we have recently ended our lease with the ASU Preparatory Academies, and we have other buildings that are available currently for lease. We don't want to lease those to I think there's an issue with the microphone. Is the microphone working? Okay, okay. Oh, no, I meant the Spanish translation microphones. Okay, we've got it. Thank you. I want to make sure everyone can hear this. So, and I lost my train of thought. So with staffing cuts, some of the things that we're having to look at, if we can have our properties generate revenue, it will not be by leasing it to another charter school. We've already seen that that was not a great operation for us because it does take away from our enrollment. It also cuts into our ability to lease it for something that's of greater value to the whole community. So when we're talking about leasing buildings, we're talking about leasing them for programs that will serve our community and for things that will be of benefit and value to our community. We live in the community. We love our community. The superintendent is somebody who cares for something. I want to be someone who is caring for our community and making sure that we're not doing anything that harms our community. We also want to lease because if we begin to grow, we want to be able to recapture our schools and serve students in those schools. That's the reason we're not interested in selling. That and a complicated formula that says if you sell your building, you can't use the money for anything other than. more buildings. So those are some of the issues that we're looking at. We have, and this is one of the words of our principal when we were talking about this with them. She said it so eloquently. We fund what we value in our district. We value high quality teachers. We value smaller class sizes. We value buildings that are beautiful and well equipped. We value programs that serve our families as well as our students and our community. We know that many of our families depend on after-school programming. They depend on preschool, and we know it makes a difference in student achievement. So we've been doing that for all these years, but unfortunately, with our budget shrinking, we are not able to provide as much. Next slide, please. So when we ask that question, are we in debt right now? The answer is no, but we're really, really close. Fortunately, we have already started making some very serious cuts to our budgets, and we believe that we're going to be able to come to the bottom of this year, maybe not with a carry forward. That's going to depend on where we go from here, but we have a hiring freeze for all non-essential staff. The transportation study is going to help us. We've cut out-of-state travel, and we are eliminating positions that were funded from federal programs that are no longer, they're wonderful to have, but they're not need to have. And so we've had to make some tough decisions with that. We're moving forward with all of those actions currently. So let's take a look at the next slide. This is Plan A. And this is difficult because Plan A does have us closing both Dunbar and Heard. Part of the reason that we're having so many community forums and we're doing all of these table talks is because we want to hear from our community, and we also want our community to understand the situation we're in, and if anyone can come up with a magic solution to help us find that magic solution. But if we close Dunbar and Heard, it represents about $2.1 million in savings. Now, I know some of you who are math people are going to go, I thought you said it costs $4 million to operate a school. The reason we only recoup $2 million in this is because we still need the staff. The students haven't gone anywhere, so the staff go with the students to the new school. But by not having the building and the operating costs of the building, we save about $2.1 million. We talked about making the budget cuts of $3 million and taking advantage of new lease opportunities. If we can add Dunbar and Heard to those lease opportunities, we predict we could get $5.2 million, but not until 2027, which is why we still have to make cuts prior to that time. Plan A shows that with $5.1 million in savings and $5.2 million worth of revenue by 2027, we could be at $10.3 million and start building a carry forward from that point. But we have to make sure in that lease opportunity that we are finding the partners who value and honor the legacy of the schools and who are committed to giving back to the community in the way that we know will benefit. And we want our community to be part of identifying who those partners are. And I will tell you at this point in time, we have no intention of renting to a charter school or leasing to a charter school. Next slide, please. So why these schools? Dunbar has low and declining enrollment. We talked about that earlier. Currently, they only have one teacher per grade level. And in our reimagine process that we've done over the past 2 years, one of the things that we heard loud and clear from our teachers and from our community was we want to have schools where we have multiple teachers collaborating and working together to provide programming for our students. We know that students have better opportunities when teachers are able to collaborate and team together. And I see some of our teachers in the audience nodding their heads. Some of our schools are able to provide that opportunity currently, but not all of our schools are. The limited opportunity for teacher collaboration definitely is difficult for our student achievement. And when we look at Dunbar, it's a beautiful building. It's a wonderful community. We know that we would be able to get great lease opportunities there. Heard also has declining enrollment. We tried to create a boost to the enrollment at Heard by bringing our EDP program and our ITI programs to Heard. Unfortunately, that hasn't been enough to sustain the enrollment that we need. We can move those programs to other sites where those programs will still be providing services because we know that these are going to be important services for our students. Our ITI program is a jewel that we are able to use, and I believe that we will find great partners who may want to work with us to build a full program around that. But we have to be able to meet our other needs first in terms of balancing budgets and having the space. The other issue with Heard is the age and the condition of the facility. People said, why don't you move capital students to Heard? Because it's the same thing, you could just move them here. The difference is the facility. Capital was built in 1995, Heard was built in 1970. If you have a chance to visit Capitol, you will see it's a campus that still has a lot of opportunity and space in the classrooms for our students. We also recognize that the proximity to a neighboring school, Magnet Traditional, it's a walking distance school. So if you walk to Heard currently, you would still have a walking school that you could go to. We know that there are rumors that say that Magnet is a wait list school or that it's private or that you can't get in. I want to dispel that myth here and now. Magnet is already accepting students for next year, or not for next year, and open enrollment for next year has not started yet, but they're accepting families who are enrolling today at their school. That will be an option for families who want to continue to live in the neighborhood, walk in the neighborhood, and attend that school. The other issue is the close proximity to other Phoenix schools, but also the potential for revenue generating. The other thing that we know about the Heard neighborhood versus the Capitol neighborhood, the city of Phoenix is doing a large campaign to build up the Capitol area, including more affordable and attainable housing and helping to build shops and restaurants along the way. They're investing in that Capitol community, and we know that that's going to bring more families to the area that will want to attend school. Having our students at a school that will be robust and full is an important component to our future success. So what are the benefits, next slide, benefits to our students? We've talked about the importance of having teachers that are collaborating together to benefit our students. We know that grade level teams help to meet student needs. We also know that having a wider arrangement of students changes the kind of course taking that students can get for their specials areas as well as for their middle school programming, so that students can take honors classes in middle school, or they can take elective classes that we can't offer when we only have one teacher at a grade level. Less campuses means that our resources and our funds will go further and will provide opportunities for our students district-wide, including social services, the quality of the facilities, the programming, and the options that are helping prepare our students for high school. Then also having fewer schools creates more efficient routes so that more students can access how they get to school. Having fewer schools also provides more flexibility to maintain programming for our preschool programs, our before and after school programs, and other works that we can combine with our partners to provide services to our families. Next slide. So people are looking at the numbers and saying, okay, so why are Plan A and Plan B so different in terms of the numbers that they are serving? Plan A showed us that we could do $10.3 million by 2027. Plan B showed that we would have $12 million in savings and $3 million in revenue, generating $15 million by 2027. The difference is we are closing schools. That's a long-term savings for the district, but we have to make more cuts. That's why you go from 5 million in savings to 12 million in savings to recoup that money. And that's where we're going to have to be if we don't close the schools. In that budget line, you saw that we start with $8.5 million deficit. In the next year, without a carry forward, we go to $14 million deficit. So Plan B, if we don't close the schools, we have to make that $9 million in the first year and then have to make it up to $14 million in the next year. We also owe by saying 15 million saving would be necessary in Plan B because we predict that with the loss of the programming for before and after school care and for preschool, we will begin to lose families at a drastic rate. Families will make other choices. And so we have to include that in our formula for how we prepare for the future. If we don't close schools, our governing board set forth a strategic plan to ensure that all students would achieve high academic outcomes. And if you've seen our meetings, you've seen that we typically devote a majority of the time in our meetings to looking at our student outcomes and examining how our students are doing. We share that because we know that it's important for our children to have a pathway to a strong finish in high school so that they're able to find good wages when they graduate from high school to go on to college, university, or trade programs. Our commitment to making sure that all of our students are achieving is strong. But if we don't close our schools, it's difficult for us to fulfill our mission in improving outcomes for every child every day. We have a mantra that we say that children's outcomes don't change until adult behaviors change. And we know that we have to make hard changes and hard decisions to be able to support our students. If we don't make this decision to close schools, unfortunately, we will then be looking at having to come here again next year with the same conversation. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And next slide, please. Again, this is a lot of work, but these are some of the questions we received at the last public hearing. They are also questions that have come from our table talks with the families, communities, and students. If my school closes, do I have to attend the assigned school? No. If you are a resident of our district, any school in our district is open to you. That's an important thing for you to know. We chose Capital because it's got space, we can expand, and we know that it's an easy commute from here to Capital. But you can also walk to Magnet. Or if you want to be part of the STEM programming that's at Garfield or at Edison, you can go to that. The next question says, if my student rides the bus, can they continue to? Yes. If your student rides the bus, they will continue to be able to ride the bus to the school that is their new assigned school. If a student says, I want to go to a different school, we have to look at how we would manage transportation. But I can't promise you that we would be able to provide transportation for everyone to any school in the district. But if you walk and you want to go to Magnet as your walking school, that would be an option. Otherwise, you can take the bus to your assigned school. Or if there's a stop that takes you to another school, you would be able to do that. But we have to work that solution out with all of you. The next question asks, what is the student capacity at Bethune and at Capital? So Bethune has a student capacity of 714 students. Capital has a student capacity of 683. So one of the questions was, if we, will the students all fit? We do have the capacity with the numbers of students at Capital and with the numbers of students at Hurd to be able to provide that school a robust program. The next question is, how will this affect class sizes and what is the pupil to teacher ratio? Our pupil to teacher ratio right now is extremely low. We have some classes that are as low as 13 or 14 students in a classroom. That's an incredible luxury. If we are able to do this program, and make the cuts that we know we need to make, we will have to staff at the meet and confer the agreed upon sizes of classrooms. So for kindergarten and first grade, that would be 20, and I'm looking at 24 students in a classroom at the max. For second through fourth grade, it would be 26. And after sixth grade, it would be 28 to 30 students in a classroom. 30. So what are you going to do with the buildings and how will this affect property values? This comes back to what we talked about earlier about our commitment to making sure that when we lease, we have a partner that we've all agreed is going to be someone that gives back to our community in a positive way. Another question, how will this change my students' accessibility to services? For example, social workers, psychologists, English language interventionists, behavior intervention specialists, etc. It depends on what the outcome of the vote on March the 4th is, but if we are able to close schools and go forward with this, we would be able to continue to provide those services for our students. But if we don't do that, unfortunately, those are many of the positions that will end up having to be cut. How does the curriculum differ between the schools? The curriculum does not change. We have district curriculum using the Arizona state standards. So the curriculum is the same regardless of the school that you go to. My child is feeling anxiety about the possibility of moving. What can I do? We appreciate this. We know many of you are experiencing anxiety at the thought of having to move schools. We are very fortunate. Our social work team has put together a beautiful guidebook for staff, for administrators, for families, to help you understand how do you talk to your child about the potential of a change like moving schools. We've been through this. At our last public meeting, we showed a video of students who went through this when we consolidated a program from Emerson to Whittier. And what we found is that the students are incredibly resilient and they thrived in that environment. We will do everything to help make this transition as smooth as possible if this transition is in fact voted into effect. One of the other things, our schools have been incredibly receptive and open to supporting each other, offering to host open houses beginning as soon as we know what the outcome is so that you can meet teachers, you can come and visit the school. Also, being able to have the students mixed together and doing field trips together, doing barbecues and picnics together, giving the students opportunities to get used to their new setting if that happens. The other question is, how will you build community and morale as schools consolidate? That's another part of the guidebook. And so bringing staff together to team, to plan, and to work collaboratively. Another question, did we retain students who moved from previous school consolidations? Yes, we had in our first consolidation from Dunbar to Magnet, the first year we had an 84% retention rate, which is similar to our district retention rate overall. And we're currently at a 93% retention rate for those students who transferred. So we're proud of that change in the retention. Is this closure part of a long-term plan? What were the results of the Reimagine Phoenix? So we talked a little bit about the results of Reimagine Phoenix before. The outcomes of that were to identify that having teachers work collaboratively and making sure that we are retaining the best and the brightest was a high priority for Reimagine Phoenix. We also found in our visioning sessions with families and staff and community members that one of the things that was really important is more hands-on project-based learning, more opportunities for students to experience the kind of learning that's going to make them successful in high school. We also saw that programs like STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Oh, mics are stopping again. Hold on. Okay, we're back on. Okay, we're back on. Thank you. So so the other thing that we talked about was also dual language instruction. So those are programs that we will be bringing to our schools through our bond initiatives. And if depending on what happens, we'll see how far we can carry those programs out. Are the school closures happening in other districts? Unfortunately, the answer to that is yes. And this is a result of our funding in our state and declining enrollment in the urban core. And then daily attendance is improving at Hurd, so why close it? This goes back to average daily membership versus student attendance. I'm proud to report that across our district, daily attendance is increasing. But what we are actually funded on is the enrollment numbers. And so our enrollment different than the percentage of attendance daily. We will continue to collect these questions. Next slide, please. And we will always respond to these. Remember, these are available on our website. We are continuing to update them. And as we hear your comment tonight, we will continue to update those and make sure that we are being as transparent as possible in getting those to you in a timely manner. We invite you to be part of helping us figure out the best solutions to this. So we are asking that you please attend our next upcoming public meetings. We have one Saturday on February 22nd at Capitol, and we have one Tuesday, February the 25th at Dunbar Elementary School. Your ideas, your input, your questions help us understand the best solutions. We need you to be our partners in this. We appreciate those of you who have already stepped forward and brought your questions to us, who have attended the table talks. We need to keep hearing from you. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez, for that presentation. Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez, for that presentation. Before I call for public comments, I just want to take this moment to just go over the process of how the public hearings are conducted. State statute, in order for us as the board to have a discussion around the possibility of school closures, we first have to publish public hearings. So this is why at our board meeting on the 4th and today, we'll just be hearing from the public and you will not be hearing questions from the governing board. So I just wanted to better explain why it kind of works backwards, because on March 4th, potentially if this item is on the agenda, then you will be able to hear questions being asked from the board, answers being reciprocated. So I just wanted to clarify how this process looks and how we have to manage our legalities. So I just want to acknowledge that this is a very difficult conversation for all of us, and I'd like for us to be mindful of the way we treat and speak to one another. We need to work collaboratively as a team for the best interest of our students, and please refrain from making speculations of other campuses. Thank you. We'll start off with Betsy Fowler, followed by Dawn Baumgartner.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Betsy Fowler, and I am the head of schools of ASU Preparatory Academy. Thank you for providing the opportunity for members of the public to provide input into the potential school closures at Dunbar and Heard. I recognize that the district faces tough decisions in the face of declining enrollment and budget limitations while working in the best interest of your students and families. Ensuring every voice is heard and valued is a valued part of that process. As you have heard from ASU Prep staff, students, and community members, we would welcome a similar input process and ongoing discussion about the lease of the ASU Prep building at 7th and Fillmore. Ending that lease would in effect mean displacing another school, an outcome that would have profound impact on students, families, and the broader community. At the same time, a revised lease agreement could provide much needed financial resources for the district. I urge you to keep the lines of communication open with ASU Prep and explore solutions that serve the district's needs while ensuring continued educational opportunities for all students. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board, cabinet, and Superintendent Gonzalez. Can't hear me? My name is Dawn Baumgartner. I am a proud Phoenix #1 staff member. I am a proud parent of a Phoenix #1 graduate who continues her education at Phoenix Union High School. I am a proud product of public schools, and clearly I am public school proud. I currently oversee the social work and mental health professionals in our school district, and I am fortunate to live my passion professionally at this district. Phoenix #1 has been committed to educating the whole child for over 15 years. We are far ahead of other districts with our systems for social work and mental health, as well as social and emotional wellness. We understand that it contributes to academic success, and I thank the board and cabinet for acknowledging and supporting the impactful work of the team I oversee. I would like us to recall a little over a year ago, the board was faced with an extremely difficult decision to end the contract of our former superintendent. Dr. Gonzalez was appointed, and the entire boardroom was packed with principals, directors, coordinators, and we all stood up and broke out in applause. The board and community approved because we knew she was the leader that had the skills that would bring us towards educational excellence. I hope the board and community will continue to trust our leadership and the painstakingly planned out school closures. Plan B cannot be an option. It would not continue providing what our district knows our students need. Our families rely on support services that we offer. Without them, I think we can expect to lose more students. Social workers often say that 2 things can be true at once. In this case of school closures, I feel deep sadness for Dunbar and Hurd. Losing your neighborhood school is heartbreaking, especially for some of our families who have seen generations of their family members attend the schools. Our educators become embedded in school communities, and it is extremely difficult for them to consider a new campus. Yet I trust that the human spirit is strong, and together we can face these changes. I ask the governing board to make another extremely difficult decision and vote to close schools. It is fiscally responsible, and it centers continuing to support the needs of our students so we can improve outcomes. Any other vote will only delay the inevitable and cause additional harm to our district. Thank you.
I have Miss Katie Farrenbridge. Thank you. After Miss Katie, I have Paul Booth.
Hi, my name is Katie Farrenbrook, and I'm a parent at Shaw Montessori. I'd like to speak in opposition to the school closure proposal and in solidarity with the families of Hurd and Dunbar Elementary Schools. Studies show that school closures disproportionately harm students of color and those from low-income families, leading to greater instability, lower graduation rates, chronic absenteeism, and reduced future earnings for the district and for families long-term. I'm encouraged to hear from the superintendent that that hasn't happened in the past, but given the environment that we live in with school choice and ESA vouchers, I don't think that we can guarantee that that won't be the outcome for us to, in this time. Public school enrollment overall nationwide is projected to decline by another 2.7 million students by 2031, which means that closures will continue unless root causes are addressed. School closures are a symptom of underfunding. They are not a solution. Instead of closing schools, the district and board should be fighting against state and federal budget cuts to public education, expansion of school choice programs and ESA vouchers that divert public funds to private schools, the lack of investment in low-income housing and rising rent burdens on families, stagnant wages that make it harder for families to stay in stable school communities. If this district wants to attract new families, closing schools is not the way to do it, especially when the research suggests that it is both harmful to the community and district in the long term. I would ask that the district also look into other ways for teachers to collaborate, multi-age classroom, co-teaching, things like that. I just think Plan A and Plan B can't be the only options. I would also, my understanding is that at the last board meeting, the families at Hurd spoke up and that their voice said that they wanted their schools to remain open. I urge this board to prioritize the voices of those directly impacted by the school closures above mine or any other parent who is speaking from a more privileged position, even if that privilege is only a false sense of safety from their school being closed. Austerity measures are here for public schools, and while it is Hurd and Dunbar today, it will be all of us tomorrow if we do not fight to save and keep open our schools. Public schools exist to serve students and communities, not to be treated as budget line items. If this district truly values equity, it must prioritize keeping schools open. Closing schools may seem like a financial fix, but the long-term consequences, academic, social, and economic, are devastating. These closures will harm the most vulnerable students while offering no real long-term solution to the district's financial challenges. The school board must reconsider and explore alternatives that put students first. As I said, Plan A and B can't be the only options. Solutions can't be as bad or worse than the problem. Thank you.
My name is Paul Booth. I am the treasurer of the Westwood Village and Estates Historic Neighborhood Association. Our neighborhood has approximately 950 homes. It goes north of Thomas to Indian School. Half of our neighborhood, it's a very large neighborhood. Half of our neighborhood, all the way up to Osborne, Hurd is our local school. The reason I want to speak up for this is that I'm also a father of two children that are in this. One is already in the district. He attends Faith North, and he would be attending Hurd. He's currently in the preschool program at Faith North. He has a disability. It's been mentioned that like we can just go to Magnet. We can already go to Magnet. That's not an additional benefit. If we wanted to be in Magnet, we would already be there. If we wanted to be at Capitol, we would already be there. If it was easy, if it was better education, there's plenty of room there, apparently. We would already be there. I've also started a petition, and in 4 days, we've acquired 479 signatures on change.org, 73% from this area. We're over 500 with these paper signatures here that has been gathered today in 4 days. So people care. People want their children attending this school. And we are not the same as Dunbar. Dunbar's principal stood up at the first meeting and said, it's fine, this is for the best. That's not happening here. The numbers are different. We've asked for numbers on the budget. It says that they're saving $2.1 million by closing both schools. We can't get a breakdown. How much are you saving? How much are you saving by closing Hurd specifically? How much are you saving by closing Dunbar specifically? That shouldn't be a difficult question that you can say, we'll get back to you on that. You should have that information. We got no input we were blindsided by this with short-term notice. Nobody came to us with like, how can we increase enrollment? Nothing. All right. The age and the condition of the facility is irrelevant because you're planning on leasing it out. You still have to maintain the building. You still have to renovate it to lease out to whatever it is. And we don't even have a clear plan on who's going to be leasing it for millions of dollars until you've spent that money. Spend that money to make this school better so more people want to attend it. Put the resources in. All right, next, I want to go through the enrollment numbers that we claim are going to be declining by 36% in the next 8 years. I want to know how you came up with those numbers because from what I can tell, you went back to 2015 to 2019. It was going like this, and then it flatlined in 2020. So in 4 years. So we look at the numbers. In 2020, there were 447 students at Hurd. In 2021, 426. In 2022, 400 to the 2023 year, 421. And then this year, 446. We have one less student in a 4-year span. Now, I did a deeper dive on it, and the average class size is 51.
That was time. Thank you. That's 3 minutes. Next, I have Allison Golick and followed by Christine Deal.
Good evening. My name is Allison Gullick, and I am first the mother of a 4-year-old visually impaired preschooler at Faith North, living within the boundaries of Hurd Elementary. I am also the president of Westwood Village and Estates and represent 900 single-family homes and parents. And finally, I am also an epidemiologist and who has built a career on numbers, statistics, and facts, as well as addressing disparities in our communities. It is clear that those in favor of closing our schools have already made up their minds. I don't yet know your true motives, but I do know this. Your decision mirrors school closures happening across the country, always justified by the same talking points: budget shortfalls, declining enrollment, rising housing costs, lower birth rates. Same script, different district. But let's talk about who is actually impacted when schools close. Phoenix Elementary 1 has adopted the Student Outcomes Focused Goals framework, which is supposed to improve student achievement. Yet the only solution you've come up with is shutting down neighborhood schools. Where is the evidence that closing Hurd or any school will actually help students? Studies overwhelmingly show the exact opposite. If this is about serving students, why are school closures hitting our most most vulnerable the hardest. Black students are more than 2.5 times as likely to attend a school that closes as compared to their white peers. And nationally, school closures disproportionately impact urban districts, particularly affecting students of color, low income, and those students with disabilities. Phoenix Elementary is no exception. Hurd Elementary has the highest African American population in the district, making up approximately 15% of its enrollment, and 1 in 5 students at Hurd has a disability. And what about that $97 million bond that we passed in 2022? A bond that taxpayers, including myself, overwhelmingly supported. We were promised renovations, improvements to existing schools, such as Hurd, and investment in our children's future. Instead, you're fast tracking to closures. Where's my representation for my taxpayer money? Had I known Hurd was on the chopping block, I would have fought then just as hard as I'm fighting now. And then there's the issue of Capitol's newly formed police presence set to take place next school year. Years ago, the board voted against adding police to schools, but yet now you're funneling displaced students into a school where law enforcement will be returning for the next school year. What message does that send? That students from a closed school are more deserving of surveillance than support? That the solution to closing a safe neighborhood school is to send children to an environment where they're more likely to experience criminalization? And let's be clear, there are more options. But instead of exploring solutions that keep schools open, you've chosen the easiest and most destructive path. And you've encouraged schools, such as my own child's school at Faith North, to attend these meetings and advocate for closing the schools. I have the privilege of school choice for my own children, but I am not just speaking for myself. Many of my neighbors do not have that privilege. They are afraid to speak up. Families are worried about immigration consequences. Educators in your district are afraid of retaliation. Parents working 2 jobs just to make ends meet are unable to attend these meetings, and hundreds of students who call Hurd home. I know I may not change your mind, but at the very least, you need to understand what you are doing. You are voting to close a beloved, tight-knit school in a warm, welcoming community that has supported the district for decades. You are gutting a school that has served as a safe haven for our students, and in doing so, you are failing the very people you were elected to serve. You want to talk about student outcomes? Let's talk about legacy, because closing schools will be your legacy. I never imagined we'd still be fighting battles.
Time, thank you. Thank you. Christine Deal is next.
I am the past president of Westwood Village and Estates. It has taken me many years and work to find out what's going on in this neighborhood. This neighborhood is very tight and all. We may have had a declining the kids in the school, but it is now rising. I am a realtor right now, and I notice that most of the people that are coming into the neighborhood have kids and they're wanting to buy in this neighborhood. So I'm hoping that you will reconsider some of it. It's just because it has been rising, but it's not quite there yet. Also, I gave you each a paper looking like this earlier. And what it is I went through today and I went to Google, and according to Google, Hurd has 333 students. Magnum has 419. Capital already has 466 students. This is where you want to send our students. Okay, if Capital only has 683 openings there, how are you going to take our 433 students there? You'll be over 217. And then you add the students from Dunbar to it, they're way over their capacity. I think these are a couple of things that you need to consider and go back in and look at the number of students in the areas and figure out which areas need to be cut instead of us. Thank you.
Next, I invite Adrian Spees, followed by Anna Lauder.
Good evening, I'm Adrienne Spees. I'm a parent of Shaw, and I recognize how difficult this situation is. I am not envious of anyone who has to make these decisions because it's sad that we have to close these schools. In fact, the state of education and public support for public schools in this state is sad. We're one of the lowest funders for per student in the United States. Unfortunately, that's not this school district's fault, and that's unfortunately not something our school district can fix, especially not on its own. Also, this district does not control other economic factors that might affect families that live in the Central Phoenix area. So this district, I feel, is in between a rock and a hard place because neither one of these options is really a good option. I think, however, in the long run, it will be better for the district as a whole to close some schools because for the number of students we have and the number of buildings we're maintaining, we are really spread too thin. And I think the alternative of having to cut services for every student across the district is going to have more negative impacts in the long run. And I feel that if we start cutting services so that we can keep buildings open, then students and families will choose other alternatives and our enrollment will continue to go down, which means our funding goes down because our funding is directly correlated with the attendance, as you know. So enrollment, I should say, not attendance. And so I think closing schools is unfortunately the better of the two bad options. If there are other options, I think that would be great to hear about them. I don't know what they would be, but if there's others, that would be great to hear about. So I really don't want to get to the point where we are in some sort of looking at receivership or anything like that. We need to stay financially viable as a district and be able to maintain the services that all students rely on to be successful and to support the whole child. So, thank you.
Good evening, President Bueno, board members, Superintendent Gonzalez, and community. My name is Anna Lauder. I'm a parent at Phoenix Elementary District. I will continue to listen and appreciate what was shared tonight. There was more information provided tonight than there has been at the previous meetings. Closing schools will cost us money, both in loss of students and restructuring costs. I'd like to see those numbers. I'd encourage the board and district to reach out to civil rights groups like the Advancement Project to really understand the cost of closure, which has not been addressed here. We cannot predict how many students we will lose across the district when we make these closures. With leasing buildings, do we have actual interest and numbers for how leasing the buildings will truly generate revenue? Or is this a dream scenario? And when it's too late to change course, we've already closed the school and then have vacant buildings as a liability in our communities. It was said tonight that the curriculum is all the same across the district. How is that accurate if we have these different magnet, traditional STEM, and dual language? And if we want to expand these programs, it does seem like a bit of a contradiction. Plan A still appears to me as a solution that may be far worse than our problems. Finally, this is a message to anyone here from any school community not under immediate threat of closure, especially any school with a higher concentration of white people, of wealth, and a larger PTA budget, who have been encouraged by their school or PTA to come and speak in favor of these closures. This does not feel like the forum to say, we should close this school so I can save my own. Please listen to the families who will be immediately and gravely impacted. We need those families to believe in the promise of public education or all our schools are at risk. I know telling people in a public forum to be quiet is a bold move, but to see the imbalance of power of those whose voices are encouraged to speak and who is told to stay silent is very frustrating. We should all focus our energy on demanding our state government fund public education at the state level, the lack of which is the basis for the crisis we face. Thank you.
Next, I have Felicitas Padron. How many parents are you representing?
I'm gonna do one for my 3 minutes and then the other ones.
Oh, I was gonna just combine them all.
What do you mean combine them all? For 3 minutes?
Mhm.
All of them?
Mhm.
Oh, no, that can't be. It has to be 3 minutes for each of them.
Sure, but
They need
you're
their time, yeah.
you're the spokesperson
Yeah.
for the others, right? That's what I was
Yes,
told.
yes.
So can you clarify what is,
So this
who's
is
gonna
for
follow
Dora?
you?
Yeah, that's what you wanted? This is for Dora?
Well, I'm asking, are you going to speak on behalf of how many other parents?
It all depends. I'm just gonna go throughout my list that I have. I don't have a total number.
Okay, so we'll start with your public comment at 3 minutes.
Also, my public comment then, my name is Felicitas Padron. I'm a facilitator for Hurd Elementary School. As a parent and a member of the community, I had last time asked you guys to be able to come and give us numbers, to be transparent and tell us where the money is going, how much money is going where, and so that hasn't been done. Yesterday's meeting here as well, the only thing that was said is that the best option is just to close the school. That is not the best option. There's always other options. And I went over those last time, being able for you guys to look for funds so that the school can remain open, you know, and then I haven't heard anything that you guys are working on that either. And so as the community, how does it help our community to close the school down? It does not help in no way or form or shape at all. So I'm asking you guys not to close the school and that you guys need to be transparent and give us numbers and tell us what you have been doing with the funds that are already there and how we can help as well as a community with you guys to get funds for the schools so that we don't have to close any of those schools down. Hurd is a school for me as a facilitator that has been a home for a couple years already. The parents here, I care a lot about them as well as their students too. I know a lot of the families here personally that they, you know, have been here and they have started being here from a different country, from a different place, and they have felt that this is home to them. And so that's a main reason why I'm here, to let you know that you're not thinking about them. You're just thinking about the money wise and that you need to be able to think about them as well and ask them, have an opportunity to let them tell you what they want. They came yesterday and from what I heard, I wasn't here, but from what I've heard, they didn't get no answers. It was just basically saying this is option A or B and that's all you have. And there was no other option. And some of the parents were asking about the funds. Why couldn't the funds come to Hurd? Why are they going to Capital? Nobody could answer that question either. So I would like to know, why are funds wanting to go to Capital and not come here to Hurd, which is the same, it's in the same district. And I want to know as well, like, how does that help our community here where Hurd is at? We have not heard any of that either. We just hear that, no, so that the parents don't go. But if you actually think about it, parents are going to leave more if you keep closing schools. They're going to leave to different districts. I know that already, that parents that are here, and if you're closing their school, they're not going to follow you. They're not going to go with the district because you're closing schools down. Maybe this is going to happen again and again to them. And that's one of the reasons that you're not going to keep students at all. You know, you really need to think about it and think about those students and think about this community and these members from here, from our community, and how it affects them before you think about making any other decision. We were told just a little bit ago, this wasn't something that we were told, you know, with time so that we could prepare or anything. It was just something that came out on Closed Dojo. We were closing and that was it. And it's just something that has been on the, you know, you guys telling us it's either option A or B and that's it. And no, there's other options. And I would like for you guys to do your job and actually figure out and find ways and forms that you can keep the schools open. Because if we didn't need the schools wouldn't be here. The students wouldn't be here. The parents wouldn't be here. Hurd is one of the schools where more of the parents
That
are
was
here.
time.
Thank you. That's for me. And then on the behalf of Dora, for one of the parents that's here, it says, my name is Dora, and this is my first year at Hurd and my daughter's second school. Although she gets good grades and loves her teacher and friends, I notice that she has sad days when she doesn't want to put in the effort because she wants to go back to her first school. But then keeping in mind that we moved here almost a year ago, she still thinks about her other school. And then me thinking, you know, that this is gonna happen again to her, right? Not only that, but my husband and I only have one car, which my husband uses to get to work. I understand that transportation will be provided. Based on yesterday's meeting, there is still no clear answer on how that would work. What happens in the event of an emergency? and I need to pick up my daughter? Or what if I can't get to the bus stop on time? Right now, I am able to walk 10 to 15 minutes to pick up my daughter if I need to, which I have done before in the past. If Herd closes and my daughter moves to Capital, I will not have the privilege or way of picking her up. And yes, I am aware that I have other options and that Capital is not the only option available, but that is not my point. The point is that our children should not have to endorse any of this, especially when they are so young and cannot understand what and why all of this is happening. I choose her because it was the best option for me and my daughter. I need her to remain open for the well-being of my daughter, and not just for my daughter, but for the best interests of all children. We are all the voice of our children. Who else is gonna come up? ¿Nadie quiere venir que le lea su carta? And the reason why they're not coming up here and speaking on their behalf is because they're afraid to tell you or let you know, because they think that because them coming up here and telling you what's going on or how they feel, that you guys might, think that, or maybe that they don't want their students back in the district or something like that. That's the reason. No, no me le voy a leer su carta. Esa es tu carta, ¿verdad? Okay. Sorry, let me bring it up from where she sent it to me so I can look at it. Okay, my name is Berta. I am a parent of a student that is going to Herd. I have heard of the plan of the school being closed. My daughter is currently attending this school. This will be a huge impact, not only on my daughter, but on the others in my community. Please reconsider closing the school and taking this action of closing the school. At the school district, when we were there and they had told us that the school was going to close, a lot of the families and part of the community was there. And they said how they were going to be impacted if the school was closed. While transportation may be something that we have to think about. Most of the parents that come here to Herd are walking distance. That also, because of transportation, they won't be able to take their students to the other school. And they won't be in the same environment that they are in now if you're changing them to another place. And that's gonna hurt their mental health. And they're gonna have new challenges there. They're gonna have a new environment, a new teacher, and all of that is gonna hurt their mental health. So closing the school and seeing that how many students are attending and that are here that to get their education and that they're trying to learn. And seeing the sizes of the schools, classrooms that are 18 to 30 students per classroom. So if they were to close the school, will we still have that? And so what happens if we are away from the school that they're going to go to, like about 4 miles away? I would like you to reconsider closing the school, and she has her information on the bottom. Now I'm going to read one for Tania. Hola, mi nombre es Tania. My name is Tania. I'm a volunteer, and I would like to tell you how it's going to affect my family as being a mother of a family. It will affect me because being part of this group and the parents group, it has been my support emotionally. I have been a volunteer here at the school. And I know that if I ever needed anything or if I don't see a way out of a situation, I know that I can come here, that this is a safe place where I can come to and that I can ask for help and know that I will receive help. And I know that even if I have any kind of problems at home that I cannot put a solution to, this is a place where I can come and ask for help and they can help me find a solution for it as well. And they also help us by giving us tools to become a better parent, how to know about other things that I need to know about that I didn't know that are different in this country than where I'm from. Herd has been a school that has been a family to me and my children. And we know that we can count on each other if we needed something. You don't understand and you don't think how this gives us pressure, stress. And as being a parent is already stressful, by knowing that you're going to close the school down, knowing that this place where I can receive that emotional support and my family as well, and that we can go there if we have a problem, that's how it hurts me.
Was that it for that comment?
That was it for her, yes. And I believe that's it. Thank you.
Next, I have Kathleen O'Neill, followed by Filberto Gonzalez.
Good evening, can you hear me? Good evening, members of the board. My name is Kathleen O'Neill France. I am a former educator here for almost 22 years at Herd School. And I'm also a former board member in a neighboring school district. So I have personally been in the position of having to make the decisions to close schools. And I know how difficult it is, and to listen to the parents and to have that heart and feel so badly for them when you have to make financial decisions. When we close schools, we close the ones that were not financially supporting themselves by the enrollment. This is why, as a parent, as an educator for public schools, and as a former board member, I don't understand why Herd is the one that's going to be closed when we, I believe, are fourth in enrollment, and it supports itself financially. There are other schools that have less enrollment. I feel as a district, we are contributing to the demise of public education, and I really feel this way. We had an election, and then I heard this news, and I felt like my world was turning upside down. We are contributing to the demise of it by getting, well, the national and locally, we are being attacked by education. And by contributing to that, we are letting parents decide where they're going to send their students. They don't have to send them to this district. There are 2 other districts, 3 actually, that are within walking distance. There are 2 private schools that I am aware of, and I know there is 1 charter school not too far from here, and there may be more. We have over 400 schools with 100 open enrollment. That's huge. A lot of districts wish they could get more open enrollment, and that is a lot for 1 school. How are we going to recoup those 100 students? Because we have no guarantee they're going to stay in the school. We have no guarantee they're going to be able to go to any of the schools in our district, but they have choices. 2.1 million savings at the expense of public education. So now it's just my bullet points. We are a neighborhood school. You have heard the parents. We have programs. We have ARP, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Gabriel's Angels, Playworks. We continued those programs after COVID and grew them here because of the need of these kids. We have so much support for them. We walk to the class, we walk to their houses, we see how they're doing. We are projected to be a B school. Transportation was brought up. Are the parents going to have transportation for those parents that walk if their kid is sick? Are they going to be able to get transportation? Parent-teacher conferences. We want parents to be there. We want them to be part of our community. It is difficult to be part of a community when you live so far from it. And district administration. I did not see any positions being cut on Plan A. And I am concerned about that because of the number of students that we have enrolled in this district. I think I counted 98 positions in our district. A neighboring school district has over 10,000 students, and they have about 85 employees in their district. That's they have double the students.
Thank you. That's time. Is Filberto Gonzalez still here? After Filberto, I have Jennifer Cervantes.
Hi there. I'd like to thank the board for this time, for everyone that's here. I'd like to thank the board for this time, for everyone here. I wish I had a fancy speech like everyone else, but I don't. The truth of the fact is, I'm a parent to a troubled child. He's one of those kids that receive those services that we mentioned earlier. He has his own social worker that I believe is here today. He has a whole staff that is helping him. I really wish that neither of these options were an option. I don't like the idea of schools being closed, but I can't have my son at risk of losing all these services that are benefiting him greatly. For me, option B is not an option at all. Thank you.
After Jennifer, I have Dr. Stephen Neal Jr.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Cervantes. I'm a former student at Hurd Elementary School, and now my son goes to Hurd. In the beginning of the school year, my son went to Magnet Traditional School. On the first day of school, the school called me in the morning to pick up my son because they were unable to manage his ADHD and ASD. My son was excited to start the school and to make friends, but Magnet crushed his dreams. They refused to work with me and my son because they didn't have the right behavioral team. No school should make a parent feel horrible about their child condition. The same day I picked up my son, I went to her to ask questions. Yadira and Cynthia were so kind and helpful that they got Ms. Magana to talk to me. Sorry. What Hurt offers, and now their behavior team helps my children who have a difficult time in school. Ms. Magana made me feel welcome and gave me hope that my son will overcome his struggles. I was convinced and the girls in the front made the transfer as soon as possible for my son to start at Hurt School. In the beginning, my son had a difficult time adjusting, and now he tells me how he loves his teachers and everyone in Hurt School. Hurt restored my son's confidence. You're going to take that away by closing the school. Closing Hurt School will affect him because he has a hard time adjusting and transitioning. My son will not be crushed again after what Magnet did to him. This will disrupt his progress, and him starting a new school will send him to go backwards on his achievements. My son is not the only child who faces difficult changes, but I will be his voice and other parents with the same situation as mine. I was aware that district wants to transfer Hurt student to Capital. As a parent whose son has ADHD and ASD, he has a hard time detecting danger and thinks everyone is friendly. Capital Elementary School is unsafe, dangerous, and hazardous area with high numbers of homeless just roaming outside the school. The playground is not secure, being close to the main street. Strangers can approach the students and it's not acceptable. Hurt Elementary keeps our students safe, and the public has no access to speak to the students when they are in recess. Explain how the funding enrollment when Hurt has 446 students enrolled, and this is a funding issue, and why isn't the district making cuts in the administration office or removing board members who wants to profit funds for themselves? As a taxpayer, we deserve to see how these fundings are being distributed. Why does the children's education needs to get affected due to these cuts? Hurt Elementary deserves more funding, and it's not acceptable for them to not have book fairs and very few educational field trips. Students needs to be motivated to come to school. This is a neighborhood school, and you're taking that away from the community to lease the school so you can profit the money to your corruptions. If Hurt closes, my son will never step foot in a Phoenix Elementary School again.
Dr. Steven, I see that you have intentions to announce your candidacy. Is that still the case?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, this community session is for the school closures.
Well, I believe this would actually help out with the school closures, because as I sit here,
I'm sorry, sir, you can't use public forum to, use this as an opportunity for your self-proclamation. Thank you. You can start now.
okay, thank you, ma'am. As I sit here and I listen to, as you can see, my speech is completely changed. As I sit here and I listen to the announcement that happened by Dr. Gonzalez, very well presented. As one lady said before, that option B, plan B, is not an option. No services should be cut when you're talking about the mental health and well-being of all students. The important part of all this that is actually taking place is change needs to happen. Change needs to happen within the community. Change needs to happen within the schools, where every party sit down at the tables and everybody talk about what are solutions in the best interest of the students. One thing I didn't have yet to hear, is the only thing from that young man back there, where he's talked about his speech. He was speaking from the heart of his child. He has no services. I heard this young lady speak up here about the other students. There are no services. This is your home. This is your community. I believe you guys should actually fight for it, because there are options. I'm sorry I can't announce my candidacy, but I can promise you this: change is on the way. As we sit down and we talk with superintendents, we talk with board members, we are going to come with a solution of what is the best way for kids to be educated. You got to believe there's hope. There's hope on the way. There's people that are coming to serve the community, to serve the students of Arizona, to meet with policy makers out on the floors. We will make a change, and we will make a difference. So I look forward to working with each and every one of you. God bless you.
I invite Kathy Munoz, and after Kathy is Larry Ward.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Munoz. I am a resident of this neighborhood. I have been in the neighborhood 30 years, and I've been an educator, also retired 30 years. I just wanted to speak on behalf of Saving Herd School. I believe it is a neighborhood school that I've always supported the overrides. I've supported you with my taxes. I know that the work that's done here at this school is very valuable. And they've served refugees, they've served the community. I know that a concern is that the population is declining, but I don't see it declining. I see it increasing. Being here this long, I see, more young families moving in. 5 houses are currently for sale in the area. They are, they're family houses, family homes that are going to be going in. So I just wanted to be here to support the effort to keep Herd open. I know that being a neighbor, it was really hard to even know that this meeting was taking place. It was, I think, change.org I saw. And so I wasn't really ready to speak tonight because I didn't even know until today that this meeting was taking place. So I just, again, support you for your efforts to find other solutions and reach out to our neighborhood, our community. We're willing to help as well. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Larry Ward. I've been with this neighborhood for 30 years. My father-in-law was on the school board many, many years ago. Taught me some important things. I'm at this stage of my life where I'm reflecting on the lessons I've learned. I've learned a few things in my life. Number one, you always try to do what's right. I don't see that you have a referendum to close the school. So you got to address what's right for these kids. The other thing I've learned in my life is when the going gets tough, the tough get going. I haven't seen that tonight. I've seen somewhat of a caving in and a lack of specificity. I mispronounced that word, but I think you catch my drift. It's time to roll up your sleeves. It's time to get together. It's time to talk about other options other than harming children. And the closure of this school is going to harm some kids, and it's going to fragment some families, and it's not right. I have some severe thoughts about this that are hard to express. But again, at this stage of my life, I know that we have to do what's right, and sometimes we have to try harder. I think it's time to try harder. Thank you.
I invite Grant Reese, followed by Nicoya.
Good evening, and thank you for coming to listen to our concerns about this extremely difficult and emotional situation. My name is Grant Rose. I was a teacher at this school for 30 years, and I'm also live in the neighborhood. Education. It's all about teaching students. It's teachers. I was happy with my salary as a teacher here at Herd School, but I noticed if I wanted to make more money, I'd have to be a principal. But then I would see students a lot less. So, and then I saw if I wanted to make still more money, I'd have to go to the district office. And then I would rarely see students. If I wanted to make the most money of all, I'd have to be superintendent, in which case I would never see students. So if, like you say, and I'm quoting, we pay for what we value, unquote, do you not agree with me that we have this backwards? It's the classroom teacher. It's the classroom teacher that's changing lives every day. To put this in perspective, PESD has 98 district employees. Alhambra, the neighboring district, has 85. That's a marginal difference. But PESD has 5,000 students. Alhambra has 10,000 students. So please consider paying for what we value, who is, the school situation. In this era of government overreach and cutting government fat, please consider, instead of closing what we value, the students, cutting district positions according to neighboring districts. Also, who is our competition? It's not the other districts around here. I believe our competition are charter schools and private schools. What's the difference? Why are they thriving and we are losing enrollment? I say a large part of that is marketing. And I know you'll say there's no money for that. And I would say you're not being creative enough. When you think about HERD or PESD, what comes to mind? It's pretty vague for me. And I live here in the neighborhood and I was a teacher here. When you think of charter schools and private schools, there's an image that pops in your head. Please consider adopting and fighting the competition in the same manner. And I do not mean to disparage district staff, many of whom I consider friends. So thank you for your time.
Good evening. I stand here tonight on the shoulders of Miss Faith North, a fearless mom and advocate for children. A commonality of moms from generation to generation is to advocate for not just your children, but all children. I'm not versed in what it went into the two available options or if a third or compromise option is available. So with the options we have today, I stand before you petitioning the board to vote unanimously for Plan A. While on the surface, this is the harder of the decisions because of the closures, but as the video shown last session shows, children are resilient and what was initially viewed negatively in the end was positive. Plan A is the best option for present and future. Plan B would have a lasting impact that may not be immediately measurable. Plan B's closure of preschool is simply not an option. Early childhood education is the foundation of lifelong learning. ECE positively impacts children's cognitive, social, physical, and educational development. Additionally, ECE is the foundation of lifelong learning. As we all know, the foundation is not recognized or acknowledged until there is a problem, and that at that point it's too late. The impact of closing preschools will not only impact current Phoenix 1 children, but the future children as well. I have firsthand experience the impact that ECE and additional services such as speech therapy and occupational therapy has. My son is a current Faith North student in a level 2 classroom. And in the short time that he's been enrolled in Faith North, there has been vast improvements in his social, emotional, and physical and behavior development. Thin and lean schools benefit no one. As scripture tells us, there is safety in a multitude of counsel. And we see this in application when teachers are able to collaborate with one another and plan and share ideas and best practices. We are in a time where teachers face school experiences much different than their own or even the ones that they've raised their children in. Having the ability to collaborate helps to bring diverse background and experiences, which helps to enrich both the parent and teacher experience. Plan B will result in a strain on classrooms by increasing student-teacher ratio and bringing negative impact to the classroom experience. Plan A places Phoenix 1 in the best position to thrive and succeed. Continuing the lease with ASU Prep is simply not an option. The building is currently being leased at a reduced rate, and payment at this rate has been problematic, leaving Phoenix 1 with unexpected related to those that lease. While seemingly a hard decision, growth and change only happens when being bold enough to make and support the hard decisions, which is a vote in favor of Plan A.
Next, I invite Rafael Rios, followed by Rudy Carrillo.
Hey, I'm Rafael Rios. I'm a resident of the neighborhood right up here. And there's a couple things I want to address. My background's in economics and data analysis. One of the biggest problems I see when evaluating a lot of what we're trying to do with checking between school closures and the reduction of resources, especially by the analysis that we saw here today, it's incredibly one-sided and it's incredibly singularly focused If you're looking only at the analysis of what our enrollment looks like over a span of 10 years, but that's not adjusted against anything like the number of certain parents in childbearing age, owning single-family homes in the relevant neighborhood, that data doesn't mean anything. As was already brought up here, the enrollment's increasing. And as many can see in the neighborhood, we do have younger families moving in who are looking to actually start their family here because this is one of the few neighborhoods in Phoenix where we have access to many of the things that as young adults we would like to see and where the houses are still affordable. I'll very openly say that the closure of the school deals with a couple things in the long term that would already cause issues. We see urban blight creeping in to this neighborhood already. A vacant property with no timeline set on when a lease could actually be continued on or set, and even longer until that's acted on and occupied, does not guarantee anything for the families in this neighborhood. It puts us in a seriously precarious position where we are dealing then with uncertainty moving forward with whoever holds that lease. We are dealing with the possibility of vacancy for an extended period of time, leading to more dangerous situations for the families that live here due to the homeless problem that is very apparent. It's not something that we can look at and just say, oh, well, we can lease it, turn it around, and immediately we'll have a solution that brings in revenue. We know that's not how this works. What we will see instead is a vacant school, issues growing within the neighborhood, flight of parents and would-be parents, much like myself and my wife. I'm not gonna lie. If we see the school leave, I'll guarantee it, we're probably here for maybe 2 or 3 years more. We're not going to sit around and wait for a possible perfect time to grow with the neighborhood if the neighborhood itself is falling in on itself. We say we want to lease these things because we want to come back into the neighborhood, reclaim that property, and regrow the district. How are you going to do that if you let blight happen, families leave, and then you have no options left? Closing the school is not the right option here. Identifying exactly where the root cause, and especially flatline budget items, it's ridiculous. Projecting out the exact same cost between years 2025 to 2027 shows me an absolute laziness in trying to do those numbers. That's something I wouldn't accept from any of the undergrad students in econ that I ever tutored. To do that at a level that seriously affects people's lives in the community is unfathomable to me. That's it. So.
Is Rudy Carrillo still here? Rudy, thank you. I have Angelica Luna.
First and foremost, first and foremost, I want to thank all of you who are opposed to closing HURD. I am a mom of a student here at HURD. I am also a volunteer for HURD. For the past 2 years, I have put long unpaid hours and I have provided material for decorations to give the students a great student of the month event. Since HURD has a budget and couldn't provide it, we the volunteers pitched in money for new balloons or any decorations we could need or would need just to give the students a great memory. I have witnessed firsthand the assistance that HURD can and has provided families that are quietly in need. In the past 18 years, Arizona has hosted the NFL Super Bowl 3 times, an MLB World Series, and an NBA Finals. Are funds from the tourist attractions not making it to the school budget? Are there any grants that can be spared to benefit our school, or possibly any sponsors that could benefit infrastructure development and renovations for schools that would ease the financial pressure on the district? You have mentioned before the declining enrollment of students in the district. HURD is currently in 4th place with the most students enrolled, but where are the district cuts? Positions were elevated at district just last year. You stated there is no students attending district's office and all the money comes from students. If we are declining enrollments, why do we need so much overhead at district? It was also mentioned HURD will be leased, which would generate revenue for learning programs and after-school activities. If we are fourth in the most students and capital eighth, wouldn't it make sense, not only because they have less students to transfer over, but they will be in a safer environment and the building downtown to be open for leasing? Now, if the board doesn't believe that location would be preferable for leasing, then maybe there is an underlying issue with that area. Or is it the fact that you had an offer for Herd you couldn't resist, and that is why not only are you recruiting people to go for closing Herd, but on January 16th during the Acela meeting, you had random people standing in the back of the classroom who were here to look at our school. You handed our school in a gold platter, and that is why on January 22nd, you sent that message through Dojo, giving us less than 5 months to figure things out. Each and every one of you agreeing to close this school does not deserve to be part of this district. There is other options, but as long as it doesn't affect you, it is okay. As long as you profit off of it, it is okay. You do not deserve to work with children. God bless you.
Robert Reyes, followed by Erica Silvas.
Thank you, district members. Well, I'm here today. Well, first I want to say thank you for enlightening us with some information regarding some of our concerns. I'm not only a Herd parent, but I'm also an alum. My kindergarten teacher also happens to be here. It's Mr. Grant Rose, who stood up. And my sixth grade teacher, Miss Kathleen France. Both had a huge impact on me. My wife and I purchased a home outside of this district back in 2020, and we moved a couple of miles away. But after talking for some while, we decided that this school was the perfect school for her. So that's why our student goes here now. But now the reason I'm here today is because I believe in the school system, and I believe the education is the core of our youth development and essentially of our adulthood. As an adult, I completely understand the decisions that have to be made and that affect many. But I keep hearing this word transparency. Well, the transparency I'm asking for today is if student enrollment has been declining for years, why are we just now being told it's an issue, and why are school closures our option A? If there was a downward trend in child enrollment, which would result in a deficit in funding, why was this not brought up sooner? I'm not sure if any of you have been here for 10 plus years, or maybe even the last 5 years. Maybe you knew about this, but chose to move funds into other projects, or you're just coming aboard now and are now inheriting this quandary. The fact remains, us as parents entrusted the school, i.e. the school board, to put our children first. And I just want to understand why our best option, option A, is to close schools and create these new sources of revenue. In particular, Herd has been singled out due to its location and not necessarily because of its performance. How will these funds be managed to deter this from happening again? As taxpayers and registered voters of the community, of the city, and of the state, we'll be paying a lot closer attention to the ballots next year. Thank you.
Is Miss Erica Silvas still with us? Erica Silvas? Okay, thank you. Then I invite Karen Bidden.
Hi, my name's Karen Banan Koskanimi, and I also taught at this school for 7 years, and I still have amazing friends because this is a neighborhood school, and the way that they use this school is to build relationships that last a lifetime. I'm willing to share my time with someone who's got cut off, but I wanted to say that painting option B so incredibly dismal is a guarantee that people are only going to pick A, and it seems poorly planned. It almost seems as subterfuge. So it would be much more impressive for us as educators and families to see that when things get rough and times get tight, that not only is the continued, never-ending, relentless request for sacrificing on the teacher and family and students, it would be a lot more impressive if some of those sacrifices went the opposite direction. If that the approach was, we want to see how you are approaching those above you. What is your communication with the governor? What is your communication with those who are handing you these cuts? Instead of turning to us and handing it to us automatically, these cuts would be more palatable if we understood that it wasn't just a simple sacrifice. If you had turned around and said, you find a way, we'll find a way with them if you find a way with us, instead of simply acquiescing to the cuts. Did you want the rest of the time? You sure? I was going to give him the remainder of my time.
One thing that I do think we need to bring up and look at is the desegregation funding. So $11 million, and that's going to Magnet and Shaw. And our district is 10% African-American, but those two schools are only 6% African-American, and Shaw is 30% white, or 32% white. And our district is only 6% white. And I have concerns about how these schools are being run unless like somebody's like magically like the wait list and the lottery system at Shaw, I have concerns. Before we start cutting schools that are not declining in enrollment, I think that we need to see if like we're doing what's best for the vulnerable areas. The superintendent said that these two areas, the schools were put there to help these areas. And now we're closing the school there. Dunbar's 33% African-American. You already threatened to close them 5 years ago, and no wonder the enrollment declined. And then you moved 3 of their grades over already, and now they only have 120 left. And everyone's like, well, there's only 120 kids there. Well, you already moved some of them. So like, I don't think that we're looking at each school and saying like, where can we make cuts? Which schools, I mean, we're going after the people that need it the most. That's all I'm going to say.
Erica Reyes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Erica Reyes, and I have 6 kids in total. 4 of them graduated from here. 2 of them still are here. And like Ms. Felicitas said, where are these funds going to? I've been here for so many years with my kids. These kids don't have field trips. They don't have carnivals. They don't have any coaches to do basketball. None of this. And I'm gonna talk from my son's heart. He is in 6th grade. He was moved 1 year from school and he had a bad experience. He was bullied. He didn't fit in. So we came back so he could be with his friends. What's gonna happen to him now? He is sitting there, he's stressed every day. He doesn't really talk about it. You wanna come up here, Bob? Come here. His best friend's over there. I'm sorry, I'm just like really nervous. I just please don't close the school for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Asia, A-I-X-A. Aixa.
I need to address myself to the community because this is all about the community. First, constructive criticism. this meeting should have been conducted in Spanish also, en español también, porque esta comunidad es de habla hispana. 58 years. 58 years of my life I have been given to public education. 58 años de mi vida en la educación. From those 58 years, I gave since 1989 to 2006 to Phoenix Elementary School, retired, came back 2012 until 2021. So I know Phoenix Elementary School real good, okay? Before some of you were born, I know, I'm sorry, I'm only 85 years old. I'm ready to go up to 100 and something. Superintendent, you did a great job showing the budget and the pros and the cons. But really seriously, you know that you can work around that. Herd Elementary School must remain open. The community is the one that has the right to say, no, I don't want Herd Elementary School. ¿Ustedes quieren que esta escuela se quede abierta? That's the answer. That's the answer. This is, you know, if you look at it on Plan A, everything was money, money, money. We're going to save this, we're going to save that. Let's save the children. Vamos a salvar los niños. Do you know, we are going towards an ignorant nation. Nosotros no podemos mantener a que los niños sean, que no los enseñen, que sean ignorantes. This had to be a nation where children need to be well educated. Herd has been known as a school. I don't know what's been happening because I'm not teaching here anymore. But when I was teaching, this was a school. There are my former teachers. There are former teachers over there. That speaks a lot. When former teachers come over here, cuando vienen los maestros que estaban aquí antes y vienen aquí a darle apoyo a esto, that speaks a lot. Marcy Ford, third grade teacher. Karen Bidan, third grade teacher. Rafael Ortiz, sixth grade teacher. Annette Brown, she was the coordinator. Aixa Esperanza Figueroa Gonzalez. I was the one who used to be Cloud over here all the time. I was kindergarten teacher, fifth, sixth grade teacher, third grade teacher, fourth grade teacher, and fifth grade teacher. That's what I was over here all the time. And then I was the assistant to the principal.
Thank you, that's time. Thank you. Last, I have Rocio Aguilar.
Hello, buenas tardes. My name is Rocio Aguilar. I'm a former student from this school with 3 kids. One that graduated from the school, about to graduate from high school. Honor roll student, 4.0 GPA. My other son comes here, and I have another one that I want her to come to this school. So, okay. My first question is why to close the school with less percentage of enrollment decrease? On your project you showed us, it's Herd as the last school with a decrease. Second of all, why move the students to Capital? What Capital has a high violent crime, is a higher violent crime area than Herd. And that's not gonna help you guys get more enrollments for next year, like you guys said, or from future, because people are gonna move into that area, into that neighborhood. No, they're not, because it has a high violent crime percentage. Third of all, and how are you guys sure that the enrollment is not gonna increase when there's younger kids in our neighborhood? They're growing and they're planning to come to this school. What else do I have to say? And then what if the community, the neighborhood don't follow you guys? They have another option down the street, which is the Osborne district, which I'm planning to move my kids there if this school closes. I don't want to go all the way to Capitol. I don't like the area. And I had the choice to put him in Magnet, but I decided to put him in Hurd. My parents had the choice to put me in Magnet and my sisters, and we came to Hurd. We didn't want to go to Magnet. And also, you guys are saying you guys are doing it for the students' well-being, but I don't see how that's happening. Because imagine the distribution to the students' stability and academic progress due to transferring to other schools. My son and my niece and nephew that also come to this school, they're worried of getting bullied when they move to another school, because there's no bully in this school. They've never been bullied here. So that's all I have to say.
Last in-person comment, so we can move on to electronic comments. Mr. Rafael Ortiz.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm a retired principal. I taught at her for about 10 years. And thank you for doing this for the community. The great debate in this country has been, should we run schools like businesses? I believe that this is what we're doing. We're making a business decision, and you have mentioned specific amounts of money that the district is losing, and you are trying to come up with solutions to alleviate that losing the money. The business model uses quarterly reports to see if they're losing or making money. And every 3 months, they say, we're losing money, we're making money, we need to change if it's necessary. Schools cannot do that because the success of the schools cannot be measured 3 or 4 months. We test students, we know if they're making progress, but a successful student takes more than that. When the society, and maybe this is too romantic and idealistic, but when the society can say, we produced a lifelong learner, a productive society, a productive member of the society that can contribute, then we can say that schools have done their jobs. We have to change our model. We have to wait. And if you're going to run like a business, then you have to wait. And if you produce that lifelong learner that can contribute to the society, you have made a great investment and you have gotten a great return. Thank you.
I think we're ready for electronic comments. Thank you, Ms. Ship.
Our first electronic comes from Edgar Toledo. I fully support the idea of consolidating our schools, as it provides an excellent opportunity to optimize our resources and enhance the educational experience for all students. By consolidating, we can pool our financial and staffing resources, ensuring that we have the funds necessary to improve school facilities, provide better learning materials, and attract highly qualified educators. This consolidation will allow for greater efficiency and a more sustainable model, ultimately creating a stronger, more unified educational system that benefits everyone in our community. By reallocating the resources for multiple smaller schools into a consolidated system, we can offer more specialized programs, extracurricular activities, and enhanced support for students' individual needs. This investment in our future is the right step forward, creating an environment where all students can thrive. Thanks, Edgar T. Our next comment is from Nancy Beck. Please read this on February 13th at the Hurd School meeting. Please do not close Hurd School. I have been a volunteer reading tutor at Hurd for almost 10 years. Hurd is a community, not just a school. The parents and grandparents of my students have attended Hurd. Last year, we had a reading tutor who went to kindergarten at Hurd. It is a community where people care about and depend on each other in the school. It is their very well-being. The magnet school next door and Capital School cannot substitute for the Hurd community. Closing Hurd and leasing the property would attract none other than a charter school that perpetuates a cycle of doom for public schools that would destroy the Hurd community and eventually the school district. In conclusion, I ask the board members to please show up in person, not on Zoom, for these school closure sessions. Have enough respect for your constituents to look them in the eye in person if you are going to destroy their world for the superintendent. Please stop giving TV interviews. That makes the closure sound like a done deal. Please think outside the box. Save Hurd. Thank you. Nancy Beck. Our next comment is from Karina Garcia. Hello, I am the mother of an ongoing student that is brokenhearted at the fact you went to take away from her. The kids need the school open. Why would you not renew it? What harm does it cause in letting education and not just that all the staff need support in everything? I write and hope you don't have all the students relocate if it is not necessary. Many good kids and staff affected over nonsense. I hope you reconsider. Our next comment is from Cynthia Harvey. Members of the governing board, my name is Cynthia Clark. I am writing as a community member in opposition to the closure of Hurd Elementary. I became part of the Hurd Elementary community as a reading tutor with the AARP Foundation Experience course. Last week, I sent in public commentary regarding the closure that was based on my personal experience of the unique community asset that is Hurd Elementary. Tonight, I am responding to last week's meeting and presentation of plans A and B and reasons for the particular choices of schools as shown in slides. I found the slides to be incomplete at best and at worst confusing. In Plan A, the numbers were not labeled as annual or anything else. The numbers were not totaled, but with the figures of $2.1 million saved by closing Hurd and Dunbar, $3 million of cuts, and $2.2 million of revenue from lease opportunities of 5 buildings. That included Hurd and Dunbar. The total is $7.2 million. Assuming that's an annual figure, moving over to Plan B, the cuts are listed as $12 million over 2 years. So for simplicity, let's call that $6 million a year. The revenue opportunities for leasing 3 buildings, not including Hurd and Dunbar, is listed as an annual amount of $3 million, or a figure that is $8.8 million greater than the maybe annual amount of $2.2 million that included the proposed schools. How does this add up? For me, it doesn't. Tucked in between these Plan A and Plan B slides were specific reasons for closures of the 2 schools. Under reasons for closure of Hurd, I believe there should be more discussion and explanation of how Hurd can be leased to generate profit if there is limited community development in comparison to other schools, and that the age and condition of the facility is a reason for closure. With limited community development and a deteriorating facility, how were revenue potentials for leasing Hurd calculated? Also listed as a reason to close Hurd was academic performance. For the students and families of Hurd, exactly how are test scores improved by closing a building? To me, a lot of last week's presentations do not add up. I look forward to learning more from tonight in the next 2 meetings. Respectfully, Cynthia Clark. Our next is from Alni Torres Blanco. Good evening. My name is Ani Torres Blanco, and I am an educator at Edison Elementary and a parent of kindergartner at Shaw Elementary. I am writing to express my support in the closures of Hurd and Dunbar. I worked in the district for several years, some of those being a peer IA before I was a certified teacher. I had 2 great summers at both Hurd and Dunbar. I remember the rumor was that Dunbar was haunted, and we had fun trying to spot a ghost on campus that summer. Of course, both schools have rich history. However, I would like the board, families, and staff to think about what would happen to our district, our teachers, and most importantly, our students if these 2 schools are not closed at the end of the year. If the classrooms are closed, the future of our campuses can be inspiring. Our schools will have classrooms with manageable class sizes, students who are able to see a social worker when dealing with something tough, students who thrive during specials because they are great athletes, beautiful artists, or even fantastic singers, and students who can work in small groups with interventionists to grow their reading and math skills. Teachers who have a common prep time every day with their colleagues to plan, collaborate, finalize field trip details, make copies, and take time to be prepared for their kiddos. A place where students and teachers will come to feel supportive and safe. On the other hand, if we do not see the closure of these two schools, we will see the complete opposite. Classrooms will be at max capacity and probably past capacity. Students will not have a social worker on campus they could see daily. Staff would be spread so thin there would be nobody to pull students for reading or math interventions. Duties would not be covered, and safety issues would be a concern. Students would no longer have daily special area classes. Teachers could potentially have only 2 prep periods a week, which could be taken up by IEP meetings, MTSS meetings, CTMs, etc. I understand the closure of schools is an extremely hard decision to make, but sometimes hard decisions must be made for the good of the students and families we serve. If we do not close these schools, this could be the beginning of our entire district being dismantled, and who knows what the future will hold for our students. Thank you. Our next comment is from Jocelyn Bogar. To whom it may concern, my name is Jocelyn Bogar, and I'm a site-based manager at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Arizona. BBBSAC has been providing mentorship programs at Hurd Elementary for many years, serving over 100 youth on campus. We are still on campus with our mentors and provide one-on-one support for students weekly. The closure of Hurd Elementary School would displace over 400 of our most vulnerable children, disrupting their education and tearing apart our close-knit community. This school is a cornerstone of our neighborhood, serving multitudes of families for several generations. The closure will not only cause emotional distress among the children, but will also strain the resources of remaining schools that will not have to absorb the sudden influx of students. We love our families at Hurd and hope there's a fair solution. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. Best. Dear governing board members, my name is Barbara Soto, and I'm a parent of a sixth grader that currently attends Hurd Elementary School. When I found out about the possible closure of the school, my family and I became very concerned and have been thinking a lot about it. I do not agree closing the school is a good decision for the following reasons. This is my daughter's second year attending Hurd School. She adjusted well at Hurd Elementary with her teachers and classmates. I'm very proud of her educational and development progress here, as well as her motivation to get up each morning to attend school. I find it difficult now that my daughter adapted to the school to move her schools again and again in a year difference for high school. My daughter is not happy about the possibility of attending another school and not being able to stay for 8th grade at Hurd. I also have a son in high school. Both of my kids depend on me for transportation to and from school. The times of going to school are so close to each other that it affects our schedules and the distance. In addition, I have to be able to make it to work after dropping them off and going back to pick them up after school. My husband and I decided if Hurd Elementary is closed for next school year, we will enroll our daughter in another school district close to our home. Capital Elementary School will not be the school my daughter attends. I attended one of the PESD #1 schools for about 5 years and currently a member of Volunteer Moms at Hurd Elementary. Being a volunteer has helped me be more involved in my daughter's education. I am grateful to be a part of this community. I want to please ask you not to close Hurd Elementary School. Thank you, Barbara Soto. Our next comment is from Kenna Aduda Young. This school will stay open for the neighborhood students. They should not have to be bused miles away from where they live. That is the purpose of neighborhood schools. It is a community, the neighborhood, the school, the families, etc., working. My name is Miss Kenna Aduda Young. I worked as a STEAM instructor at Hurd. Multicultural students need to stay close to home at this age. Shipping them all over town is insensitive to their sense of belonging and security. Find a different answer. Our next comment is from Dina Gonzalez. Good evening. Please consider closing Capital School before closing Hurd Elementary School. As a parent, taxpayer, and registered voter, I would like to make a suggestion which pertains to the closure of the schools for 2025-2026 school year. It is a fact birth rates are down and continue to go down. Families are now a 3 household with some exceptions of 4 to 6, but this is a very rare exception. That is a fact that is here to stay. With this fact, there are less children attending schools, no matter if charter, private, or mainstream, there are fewer children. The reaction to this action is closing schools. There are now too many schools for very few children. When reviewing the data as to what schools to close, please be mindful of the community and safety of the staff and children. Something the data may not always show this information. Take, for example, Capital Elementary School. This school is located in the downtown area, an area that has very few families. Most of the residents surrounding Capital are generational homeowners, retired or have moved away and leased their homes. The renters that have families, 2 to 4 children, are 1 out of 3. The apartments that are located close to Capital have The apartments that are located close to Capitol have very few families as rent is too high. I remember downtown Phoenix location. There are just no families or kids to fill up Capitol Elementary School. The location of the school is a safety concern. The homeless population is steps away from the school. With a community soup kitchen and local city homeless that make 15th Avenue their home due to its close proximity to CASS Homeless Shelter Resource Center. There is not enough COP or Capitol Police to patrol the area, thus making it unsafe. With children so close to all these entities, the safety of the children and staff is a huge concern and risk. Due to the safety concern, Capitol parents do not want to enroll their children at Capitol and prefer to enroll their children in schools outside of the Phoenix #1 elementary area, which results in a negative reaction for all. Strongly suggest and encourage Phoenix #1 governing board to consider closing Capital School, transporting their students to surrounding schools such as Kenilworth, Bethune, Lowell, or Herrera. All these schools mentioned are close to Phoenix downtown and can provide education services to the little bit of families that reside within downtown Phoenix. Should families start to move into downtown Phoenix, these schools can sustain enrollment growth as there is room for growth. Per data of 2023-2024 school year, children and staff that are moved to Hurd Elementary School will be able to attend and learn in a safer environment than the environment at Capitol Elementary School. With closing Capitol, Phoenix #1 school district can consider selling or leasing the school building to local or federal governments to assist with the current homeless crisis. This would assist with the school district budget. With closing Hurd Elementary School, there is a huge area and community families that will not be serviced in education for their children. The area north of Hurd has families and residents that will not be able to take their children to school due to no schools available. The closest school to this community is Osborne School. Our next comment is from Crystal Ann. Good evening, governing board members. My name is Crystal Famania, and I'm a technology integration specialist with Phoenix Elementary School District #1. I'm writing this comment in support of the proposed school closures of Hurd and Dunbar. Declining enrollment and a shrinkage student population with the school's boundaries present a significant challenge. Consolidating these schools is a strategic move that will ultimately benefit both our students and our staff. This consolidation allows for a more efficient use of our limited resources. Instead of spreading these resources thin, we can concentrate them to provide tangible improvements for our students. Think better facilities, up-to-date technology, and enhancing learning materials. These things that directly impact classroom success. Consolidation also allows for a more strategic distribution of our talented teachers and support staff. Research suggests that larger schools often have greater access to experienced teachers, which can potentially lead to improved academic performance. This isn't about simply closing doors, it's about optimizing our resources to create a stronger, more effective educational environment for all our students. I understand that change can be difficult and that the staff and students of Hurd and Dunbar will need time to adjust. However, I firmly believe that this consolidation is a necessary step to ensure the long-term health and success of our district. It will allow us to provide a higher quality education to the children in our changing communities. I hope that someday soon our population of children will be browned and we will be building new schools, and this strategic consolidation will prepare us for that day. Thank you. Our next comment is from Nick Martin. Good evening, governing board members. As both a teacher and a community member, I support schools consolidation and the opportunities it brings. More innovative programming, stronger professional collaboration, and a district that better serves our students. After years of planning, community input, and expert consultation, we hope for a multi-year plan that provides a clear and inspiring vision for the future. Change is something we can navigate, but we need direction. Our teachers, students, and families deserve more than a year-to-year approach. We need a roadmap that shows our community what's ahead and why they can be excited about it. Additionally, we ask for transparency regarding the district's financial landscape. Rumors of hiring freezes and budget deficits are spreading, and without clear communication, uncertainty takes hold. We've seen the impact of this in neighboring districts, and proactive messaging is critical to building trust and confidence in decisions ahead. Thank you. Our next comment is from Mickey Schwitz. Hello, I'm a parent of 2 kids at Shaw Montessori and 1 kid at Faith North. I am writing to encourage you to go with Plan A. The alternative Plan B would be devastating for more families and students. The preschool program at Shaw was amazing for my 2 neurotypical older children. My neurodivergent toddler needs that developmental preschool program at Faith North. He has autism and severe delays in all aspects of development. If you go with Plan B and take away the preschool programs, my son will not have the opportunity to learn and grow from other kids, including neurotypical kids his own age. He will not have the opportunity to get all the therapy he needs each week. He will not have the opportunity to learn and grow and thrive like his older siblings. It would be really devastating for our family. Thank you for your time. Our last comment is from Principal Kirby Watts. Good morning. Please see attached for my public comment for tonight. Thank you. 1 second. Good evening, President Bueno, board members, Superintendent Gonzalez, and Cabinet. My name is Kirby Botts, and I'm the principal at Capitol Elementary School. I am writing tonight to express my empathy toward the Hurd community as they work through some of the difficulties expressed in the last board meeting. I want to share that while I personally have never felt exactly what families are feeling currently, I can understand and sympathize with the feeling of the unknown. As a parent myself, I know how much effort goes into choosing the right school and place for your family and your child. To then feel like the environment is ripped from your child in a moment's notice can feel scary and overwhelming. I also know that families also have worries about this transition. I also want to share that as the leader of Capital, if this consolidation does go through, we will open our home to you to create a new home together. As we navigate the potential changes, we are committed to remaining open to collaboration, community building, and working together to support the students. We know there will be difficulties and there will be hard times during this transition. We also know there might be things we mess up, but we hope there will be empathy and support as we work together. In the meeting that occurred on February 4th, I heard a lot of concern about the powerful environment that has been built on Hurd's campus and a feeling that the environment might not remain intact. I also heard the value of community and support. At Capital and any other school in our district, I want to reassure the families and staff that Capital is also committed to these values and will do everything in our power to ensure these continue. Additionally, I want to highlight some of the opportunities that may come from this consolidation. Should this occur, we can dream big about some of the offerings we can provide for the students. We can work together to ensure that even in the time of transition, the students feel confident and supported. My staff has also shared sentiments about dreams they have for the future. In this school year, we have been able to build up an after-school programmatic offerings to include cooking club, publishing, STEM, PE, after-school tutoring, and more. By bringing additional students into our school and bringing additional staff, we have the opportunity to build upon the wonderful things occurring on both campuses. As we continue to navigate the unknown, I encourage Hurd community and family to continue to Capital, tour the campus, and see what is occurring. I know change and the unknown are scary. I know how passionate and supportive everyone working in both locations are. And I know that together we can build something amazing if we work together to build the future we want for the children. Thank you, Kirby Botts.
Thank you. And with that, concludes this public hearing. I believe we have staff that will stick around for some questions. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Thank you. The time is 7:50 and I call this meeting to conclusion. Thank you.